Hello, dear viewers, and welcome. Tonight, I invite you to step into a tale that has lingered for generations. In the heart of Europe, deep within Germany's Black Forest, a place where mist and shadows intertwine, and whispers of the unknown drift among towering trees. Prepare yourselves, for this story is no ordinary legend. It is a journey through curiosity and fear, where each step may reveal what should perhaps remain hidden. Long ago, in a small village on the forest's edge, lived a young man named Lukas, quiet and introspective. He was known for his insatiable curiosity, especially toward things the villagers warned him to avoid. Every night, strange whispers echoed from the forest, voices no one could explain. Unable to resist the lure of mystery, Lukas decided he would uncover the truth, even if danger lurked unseen. One night, a dense fog rolled in, cloaking the village in an eerie gray. The air smelled of wet earth and decaying leaves. Lukas stepped onto a narrow, overgrown path, his flickering flashlight the only source of light. Every snapped twig sounded unnaturally loud, as if the forest itself were aware of his presence. Shadows moved unnaturally between the trees, shapes that the mind could not fully comprehend, yet sent a chill down his spine. The whispers grew sharper, almost calling out names he recognized, yet distorted, hollow, and cold. Suddenly, a faceless figure appeared, gliding with unnatural speed. Lukas froze, heart hammering, before the figure vanished, leaving behind a cold emptiness that clung to his skin. Was this merely the beginning of the Black Forest legend, or something far darker? Lukas swallowed hard, realizing tonight would not end like any other. Yet he could not turn back. The path before him seemed to stretch endlessly, each step sinking slightly into the damp forest floor. The fog thickened, curling around his legs like ghostly tendrils, and the shadows between the trees shifted as if alive. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat, but curiosity and something darker, inexplicably pulling him forward, kept him moving. As he ventured deeper, a cold breeze swept through the branches, carrying with it a low hum that resonated in his chest. The whispering voices returned, clearer now, almost urgent, though their words remained indecipherable. Lukas strained to focus, trying to trace the source. The forest, which moments ago seemed merely eerie, now felt like a living maze, each tree a sentinel watching him silently. He realized that the path he had been following had disappeared, replaced by a tangle of roots and shadows that seemed to shift under his gaze. Then, suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled faintly, a vibration too deliberate to be natural. A flicker of movement caught his eye, something small, darting just beyond the edge of his light. Heart racing, he stepped closer, only to find nothing but a cluster of brambles, rustling as if disturbed by invisible hands. Lukas swallowed hard, feeling a prickling chill along his spine. He could sense that he was no longer alone, that something or someone was pacing his every step, watching from the darkness. A faint, hollow laugh echoed through the trees, low and chilling. Lukas froze, gripping his flashlight, his breath shallow. The air seemed heavier, thick with anticipation, and he realized that the whispers had formed a pattern, a rhythm almost like a heartbeat, slow and deliberate. Something waited for him deeper inside the forest, something patient, almost calculating. And as he turned a corner, he glimpsed it. A shadow crouched low among the roots, faceless, yet impossibly fast. Lukas's pulse quickened. Was this the entity from the edge of the forest, or merely a fragment of the forest's haunting illusion? The answer was just out of reach, hidden among the whispering trees. The shadow crouched low among the roots, faceless yet impossibly fast, and Lukas's pulse thundered in his ears as he stepped closer, unable to resist the pull of the forest's sinister allure. Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet some invisible force seemed to tether him to the path, drawing him deeper into the unknown. The whispering voices surged, overlapping now, weaving a cold, unintelligible chant that seemed to echo not just around him, but within his own mind. The trees pressed closer, their twisted branches forming grotesque shapes that blocked the weak light of his flashlight. The forest seemed alive, shifting subtly, as though it were breathing, and Lukas realized with a sudden, chilling clarity that it had been watching him long before he ever set foot inside. Shadows flickered at the edge of his vision, dancing just beyond reach, teasing him, drawing him onward. Each step became a test of courage, each sound a question he dared not answer. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an unnatural silver glow. The fog parted just enough to reveal something, carved into the earth, an arrangement of stones forming a strange pattern, like a symbol of an ancient, forgotten ritual. Lukas knelt to inspect it, feeling a sharp sense of unease, a whisper of dread that crawled along his spine. The symbol seemed to pulse faintly, almost alive, and he could swear he heard the faint scratching of nails against wood or perhaps bone. Just beyond the circle, a sudden movement made him spin, flashlight shaking wildly. The faceless figure from before had returned, standing at the far edge of the clearing, motionless yet unmistakably aware of him. Lukas's breath caught in his throat as he noticed the figure was no longer alone. Dozens of smaller shadows, amorphous and shifting, had emerged from the darkness surrounding him. A silent question lingered in the chilling air. Was the forest itself summoning him, or was it merely a stage for something far older and far more malevolent? Lukas knew one thing: once he stepped forward, there was no turning back. And yet, a deeper fear gnawed at him. What if he had already gone too far? Once he realized there was no turning back, Lukas felt the weight of the forest press in on him. The faceless figure and its shifting shadows closing the distance with an almost sentient patience. The silver glow from the ritual circle bathed the clearing in an otherworldly light, and yet it did nothing to warm the chill crawling along his spine. Each shadow moved with impossible fluidity, forming shapes that seemed both familiar and horribly alien, echoing the whispers that had haunted him since the beginning. A sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, carrying the scent of damp earth mixed with something metallic, something alive. Lukas stumbled backward, heart hammering, as the shadows elongated and merged, forming a single towering silhouette. Its presence was suffocating, and though it had no face, he could feel its gaze piercing through him, probing, judging. The whispers grew louder, now almost coherent, chanting his name, each syllable reverberating like a cold hand pressing against his chest. Desperate, Lukas scanned the clearing and noticed a narrow path of cracked earth, leading further into the forest, disappearing into a darkness so dense it seemed to swallow the very light of his flashlight. Something inside him screamed that the path led to answers, but perhaps answers he would regret seeking. He stepped forward, compelled, and the shadows shifted in unison, flowing like liquid darkness around him. The air thickened, making each breath a struggle, and Lukas realized he could no longer distinguish between the forest and the nightmare it had become. Then, at the edge of the path, a figure appeared different from the others, more human yet distorted. Its eyes glowed faintly, an unnatural light that seared into Lukas's mind. It whispered a single word, low and hollow: join. Lukas froze, torn between the instinct to flee and a morbid curiosity that demanded he follow. He stepped closer, every nerve screaming in protest, and the forest seemed to respond, closing in, reshaping itself around him. In that instant, he understood that whatever had been waiting for him all along was not merely a guardian of the forest, but something far older, far darker, and it wanted him to see the truth. He understood now that whatever had been waiting for him was far older, far darker, and it wanted him to see the truth. Lukas's legs trembled as he stepped closer to the glowing figure, the shadows parting reluctantly, as if granting him passage into the very core of the forest's secret. The air grew heavy, charged with a silent, oppressive energy, and he felt the weight of centuries pressing down upon him. Memories of those who had entered this place and never returned. The figure extended an arm, revealing a hollow space where a hand should have been, and the glow intensified, illuminating a hidden structure beneath the trees, a circle of ancient stones etched with cryptic symbols, their meaning older than any living language. Lucas's pulse raced as he realized the forest itself was alive, feeding on curiosity, fear, and the lost souls of those who dared to enter. The whispers converged into a single, resonant voice, echoing in his mind. You sought the truth. Now witness it. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently. Shadows surged like a living tide, swirling around Lucas, yet the figure remained, a calm center in the maelstrom. Visions flashed before his eyes, village after village, travelers disappearing, warnings ignored, revealing the forest's nature as both protector and predator. Lucas understood the terrible balance. The forest preserved its secrets by consuming those who sought them recklessly, but it also demanded recognition of its power, a test of courage and a witness to its existence. With a final, bone-chilling whisper, the faceless figure receded into the shadows, leaving Lucas alone in the clearing. The glow faded, the whispers fell silent, and the forest returned to its quiet, deceptive calm. Lucas stumbled out of the trees at dawn, forever changed. He carried the knowledge of the forest's secret, a truth no one would believe, yet one he could never forget. The Black Forest had tested him, spared him, but it had left its mark, a lingering reminder that some mysteries are eternal, and some shadows, once glimpsed, never fully fade. And as he glanced back, the fog curling between the ancient trees, Lucas knew one thing with certainty: the forest was patient. It waited for the next curious soul, the next whisper in the dark, and the next story to be told.